Well, hello there. Hey, it's Prophetess Tabitha Pittman, Coach Tabitha. I am just popping in here because I have been seeing this a lot. I'm a certified Christian counselor, life coach, and I wanted to share a topic that's been just cropping up a lot, a term that I have. Really wanted to get across and really bring to the forefront from some different ways. And so, um, please, if you know anyone dealing with this topic, please just have them pop in. Hello, Robert. Good to see you. So, here it is, dealing with a narcissistic mother-in-law. Um, for some, this occurs in marriage, where you have someone who is just really difficult to cope with, right? And so maybe you've been married for a while and you've always had trouble in your relationship because of these things, right? Well, of all the family relationships, let me just say that in-laws is always going to be, or what I've now deemed in loves, is always going to be the most challenging or the most difficult. Um, in particular, a mother-in-law can be very hard to get along with if she's narcissistic. Narcissistic parents are never easy to strike up a good relationship with, but the mother-in-law dynamic is extremely difficult, especially hard. So today I want to look at that a little bit. The narcissistic mother-in-law in particular, and how to make sure when you're dealing with that person, or if you're dealing with her in the future, how you can have a better grasp of it. So many of the ways we function can also be used as a way to cope with narcissistic parents in general. So let's just talk about that. So here are some signs that you may have a narcissistic mother-in-law. First, let's look at the signs, right? Because we want to be able to identify them, or a narcissistic parent. They'll signal, you know, I'm saying mother-in-law because that's what I've been accustomed to seeing here as of late. This is due to the relationship dynamics between mother and son, and which then gets threatened when the son gets married, right? So you're going to see these things, and it could really truly work the opposite way as well. That mother-in-law tends to be overly competitive, right? You're trying to maybe lean into your husband and she's leaning on the other side. You're trying to feed him, she's trying to feed him. A narcissistic person will always be very competitive, and they always like to win things regardless of what they are. It could be eating a hot dog, it could be a race, it could be something minor to something major. Even though it can be the smallest of an argument or a debate, that person wants to win, because a narcissistic personality disorder will always make sure that they want to have their point of view, their perspective is to win. And when this comes to playing any type of physical sport, the narcissist will always want to win that as well. And this can be hard to cope with inside of relationships, especially when they're overly competitive within a relationship that isn't necessarily their own. So they make it hard for people to deal with them. Number two, they never stop offering help. Perhaps it's one of the most difficult things to deal with, because you don't necessarily want their help, right? You want them to really back away. But the narcissistic mother-in-law, one of the keys to dealing with her is that she never offers to help, right? She's never offering to help. The reason that is that's a sign of this type of personality, is they're too self-involved to offer help. So again, number two is never offering help. These are keys to help you identify narcissistic parent or mother-in-law. Sadly, it can be the case that they never offered to help with the smallest of things, even around the house, right? Picking up laundry, putting a load in the dishwasher, looking after the children, or helping you through a difficult time in your life. This is something that you will note from a narcissistic parent. Number three, they always put family members down. Always put family members due to their overly competitive ways. Again, one thing that a narcissist in a family will do is they'll put other family members down, right? They'll talk about them or be degrading to them. And this may well include you, right? And so no one is safe from a narcissistic's negative words. No one is. And with the in-laws, this can be difficult to see as the relationship dynamic kind of tells you a little bit, right? And it can be very hurtful because you already feel like you're trying to fit into the family and you're seeing these things kind of pull at the relationship. When it comes to in-laws, if they're putting down other close relatives, remember that very family has complicated relationships within it. So you do have to use some discernment and judgment, right? Number four, repeating the same stories often. Another key sign of a narcissist is the person repeating the same stories over and over again. The reason that they do this is because it shows a lack of self-awareness, right? And I want you to be aware of it. You'll see them have a lack of self-awareness. They do not realize that they have told a story over and over and over again to anyone, right? When it comes to family, you're more likely to see them often, right? Which is why you're more at risk of hearing the same stories a lot. And it can be extremely tiresome, right? So try to think of ways to only listen with one ear. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Number five, trying to control all situations. Again, these are characteristics of a narcissistic parent or in-law. A particularly difficult trait to deal with when it comes to narcissistic in-laws is how they like to control all situations and feel like they are in charge, right? Even at your house, even at your event, they are in charge. And this can be draining on anyone's self-esteem, as it can make you doubt your own ability, right? Because they're trying to usurp your authority. While they might want to look like they're in charge, remember that this need to be in control boils down to what's really there. The undergirding thing is a lack of self-confidence, okay, in the narcissistic person. So, how to deal with a narcissistic mother-in-law. I want to look at ways to help you prepare for seeing and interacting with her or whomever that narcissistic person is, whether it's your mother-in-law, father-in-law, etc. One, you're going to need to exercise a lot of patience. And let me back up. One should be prayer. Preparing yourself in prayer, right? Asking God to soften your heart, to give you the empathy and the understanding and patience to deal with them in prayer first. So, patience. Perhaps the hardest thing to do when you're dealing with a self-involved narcissist is to have patience, but it is very necessary. It may sound like Captain Obvious, I know, but you have to try that in every situation. So it may call for you to extend your patience with them, extend your understanding. And so if you couple patience with a few other strategies that I'm going to provide to you, you'll find that the relationship may even turn to your in-loves instead of your in-laws. And this will help you to improve, right? So number two, create exit strategies, right? It can be difficult to deal with this person because, they're consistently rude. They may say things that are off color, off the wall, inappropriate, whatever that looks like, right? In other scenarios, you can always arrange to see them later, right? Hey, gotta go. You can obviously you can't always do that with the in-laws, right? You can't just say, hey, gotta run. So to cope with this, have an exit strategy. Even talk with your partner, whether that's your husband, if this is your husband's mother, or if this is your wife's mother, or whomever that person is. Talk these things out with your spouse. Um, as a way to be comfortable removing yourself from the situation before it gets to you, before your emotional intelligence, starts to waver anymore. So this could mean you have a signal to indicate that you need to exit, right? Gotta go. Or you guys have a keyword or, a code word or whatever that looks like. Or you leave at a certain time, right? So, okay, we're going to be here for an hour and you stick to that hour, right? Because you have to set those endpoints and then make sure you're firm with them. That's another way of saying have boundaries. Ask them about themselves, right? It sounds a bit counterintuitive to ask a narcissist about themselves, right? But it can be a fantastic tool to help deal with their idiosyncrasies, which can be so difficult to deal with or cope with, right? If you ask them about themselves, you're actually taking control of the situation and leading the conversation where you would like for it to go, right? Additionally, narcissists love to talk. love, love, love to talk about themselves and will appreciate the person who gives them such a platform to do so. So ask them about themselves. Number four, ask directly for help, right? If one of your biggest narcissists in your life is that they never offer to help, right? If that is one of your pet peeves, that they never offer to help, just ask them directly to do it. Ask them directly to help, to do something for you. Often, a narcissist is too self involved, too self absorbed to realize that you have problems that you need support with, just like they do, right? Tell them how they can help you. You may be surprised that they're willing to give you the support. They're willing to help, willing to add that to you because you need it, right? Tell them that I need your help, right? Then number five, talk to your partner. Talk to your partner. Perhaps the most obvious thing about that is when we overlook that, right? The Your spouse is often the person in the middle of the situation, right? So they're kind of playing monkey in the middle. They want to please you and they want to please their parent, right? And so talk to your spouse. The reason that this can be helpful, because the spouse also knows these things about their parent. Even though they're accustomed to dealing with them, they do know these things about their parent. The reason this is helpful to you is that you'll be able to have an ally and a person who is aware of your mother-in-law's or father-in-law's flaws or your parents' flaws, right? The reality is they would say something in agreement with you about how irritating the narcissistic behavior can be. And sometimes just knowing that someone agrees with you is helpful in helping you to really endure the situation. Number six, give them responsibilities. Give them responsibilities. A good way to cope with a troublesome narcissistic mother-in-law is to give them responsibilities. This can materially improve relations with them as it means they know you rely on them and respect them, right? I know. It seems counterintuitive. It really seems like, okay, Tabatha, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. They like to feel needed, wanted, and loved. If they therefore know that you need them to help in some way, they may start concentrating on the responsibility you give them as opposed to simply displaying that behavior that annoys you. Okay. Number seven, show them empathy. Most narcissists truly um, they lack empathy. So just because a person is a narcissist doesn't mean that they don't find that their feelings get hurt from time to time, because their feelings do get hurt. Plus, it's so often the case with personality disorders that something in a person's past, right, what I call life codes or childhood experiences, have influenced them to be the way that they are. If you show them empathy and sensitivity as to what has happened in their past, you may find that at least you'll start to build a better rapport with them, right? Which can help you have a better relationship in the future. So that's just an option, right? So having empathy and realizing those things. Number eight, call on their experience. A narcissist loves to talk about themselves again, right? And so they're always looking for any excuse to do just that. So it can be very helpful to ask what their opinion is on things. As I said before, they will like to feel needed, they like to feel wanted, and they'll love to talk about themselves. Plus, you may even find it helpful to have their point of view on some things, right? When they're telling you about their experience, which can help you feel more familiar with them as well and not as off put by them. Number nine, understand them. When you're calling on their experience as well as trying to be more sensitive to that background that they have, right? Their childhood experience, whatever life codes they've come up with, you want to really try to understand them, have empathy and sympathy for what they've gone through. You're building up a picture of them that you may not have seen on the initial face value, right? So when you have a better idea of that picture, it can be good to try to understand it a lot better than you did before. And so that will soften your heart, allow you to apply some compassion toward that person. And that understanding can help you have a much bigger amount of patience with them than you did in the beginning. And inevitably, that displays self-involved behavior that you find. So it really hopefully flushes it out a little bit, right? That self-involved behavior that is so annoying or frustrating. So, what am I saying? It can be hard to deal with a narcissistic in law. It can be hard to deal with a narcissistic parent. And this relationship is never as easy as the one, you want to have, right? And your partner is always going to be in that awkward situation also of being kind of in the middle of you two. And so think about your partner as well as much as you can, and try to have patience and realize that there are other relationships in your life that are important too. Um, Dealing with a narcissistic mother-in-law is tough, a narcissistic father-in-law, a narcissistic in-law in general, but it can be done. So I want you to be encouraged. You need to find a way of coping as a way of addressing the issues that, and really seeking out the issues that have caused this behavior in the first place. This will help you so much. So I've shared with you some of the signs of a narcissistic parent or in law, and some of the coping mechanisms that I hope will be of value to you in moving forward on how you can get through these situations. So, with that being said, I am Prophetess Tabatha Pittman. I'm also a certified Christian counselor focusing on marriage and family. So I pray that something I've said here helped you. If you need more information or more insight, please go to my website, that is tabathapittman.com, and watch more videos there where you can find some encouragement. I'm also doing a series on discernment where I will be going into the next part of that on tomorrow, right here on my YouTube channel, Coach Tabatha Inspires, as well as in my Facebook group, Tabatha Pittman's Women Who Win. I pray that something I've said today has empowered you to win in the next leg of your journey, wherever that may be, in whatever relationship that is, so that you can get what God has for you. I'll see you next time. God bless.